Our next speaker is an anchor, facilitator, communication coach, founder and CEO at Nyra Leadership Consulting. She is a multifaceted personality with corporate exposure as well as live anchoring, where she has engaged with the likes of Soha Ali Khan, Piyush Pandey, Farhan Akhtar, Andre Agassi. At the corporate level, she has engaged with CEOs of firms such as Deloitte, Adani Conics, Yota Infrastructure Solutions, Godrej, Oriental Aromatics. In her stint at Nyra Leadership Consulting, she enables leaders to express themselves with clarity, conviction, and confidence, thus enhancing their leadership potential. Please welcome to the stage Miss Ridima Wali.
Thank you so much. Okay, there seems to be some mic-related technical issue. People at the back, can you hear me well? Yes. Sure? Thank you so much. Good morning, and I feel super stoked to be here and super intimidated too. You see, in arithmetics or mathematics, I can't even pronounce that word well, and I claim to be a communication coach, there is an increasing order, which means you start with a smaller number, smaller numerator, and then you go on increasing it. But we had a phenomenal start with Rajesh. I think he's just left as a speaker. Then we had Robert, who's also known as Bomb, coming on stage. And you see, they're all luminaries. They've been there, done that. So I have this humongous pressure to basically succeed a person who sounded like Amitabh Bachchan on stage. I was completely wowed by his pitch, tone, tempo. And I was like, how do I moderate my voice now? Because I can't live up to those standards. So phenomenally presented. And the eloquence with which our speakers presented were great. So I've been given the slot of collaboration, but I don't want to cover collaboration in run-of-the-mill stuff and tell you what it means, because you all are such able entrepreneurs. I want to have this little exercise with you, and let's play along. So are you ready? Yes. All right. So the first thing you've got to do from the confines of where you're seated is you have to rub your palms really fast. This is just to test your alertness and awakeness. Okay? And while you're rubbing it, please touch your forehead really fast. Rub your palms again. Now, touch your eyes. Okay. Rub your palms again. Touch your ears. Rub your palms again and touch your nose. I just wanted to ensure that we're on the right path and right track. Lovely. So, unlike Bob, I have a presentation, but before I get into the mechanics of presentation, I want to play another activity with you. And the activity goes like this, that I'm going to be speaking a narrative in front of you, which is in the form of a story. At the end of that narrative, I'm going to be asking you few questions for which you can respond in true and false manner. So I'm going to be asking you, how many of you think the statement is true? Please raise your hand, right? And how many of you think it's false? Raise your hand. There is no right or wrong answer. So ready, folks? Yes. All right. So here comes the story. A priest, a doctor, and a business consultant were playing golf course together one day. It was a bright and sunny day in the city of Gilly that stood beside a lake in the country of Millie. The temperatures were soaring, yet it was pleasant to get into comfortable pastels that the golfers were wearing. The priest was a very experienced man. The doctor was quite famous in his network. And the business consultant was part of Fortune 500 firm called Maxwell. So far with me, folks? Awake? Lovely. They were waiting for their turn due to a particularly slow group ahead. It had been over an hour since they were waiting. Tired, restless, and sipping margaritas, they were dying to start their game. The business consultant exclaimed, "What's with these people? We've been waiting for over half an hour. It's a complete disgrace." The doctor agreed. "They are hopeless, I tell you. I've never seen a rabble on a golf course. The priest spotted the approaching greenkeeper and asked him what was going on, what's happening to the group ahead of us. They're surely too slow and useless to be playing, aren't they? The greenkeeper replied, oh yes, that's a group of visually impaired firefighters. They have lost their sight saving our clubhouse from a fire last year. So we always let them play for free anytime. The three golfers fell silent for a moment. They felt a deep sense of chill down their spine and a guilt that seized them for a moment. The priest immediately replied, oh dear, that's so sad. I shall say some special prayers for them tonight. The doctor added rather meekly, that's a good thought. I know a lot of surgeons. I'll get in touch with an ophthalmic surgeon friend of mine to see if there is anything that can be done for them. Now, after pondering the situation for a few seconds, the business consultant turned to the greenkeeper and asked, why can't they play at night? The story ends. Now, ready for the Q&A, guys? We're not going to declare it a hit or flop because it's not going to enter any Bollywood plot, at least as of today. So, I'm going to be telling 7 statements. If you think the answer or your response is true, please raise your hand. So, let's get started. The 3 friends were playing golf in the city of Millie. Is it true or is it false? How many of you think it's true? Raise your hand. How many of you think it's false? There are a lot of people who kept their hands down, but they're not even raising now for false, which I don't know, it's a 50-50 chances. Okay. The answer is false because the city was called Gilly, located in the country Millie. You get it? It's like a tongue twister, I know. Here comes the plot. Okay. My second question is, or rather statement is, the doctor was a very well-qualified person. I see confidence shaking. How many of you think it's true? Only you think, sir, it's true, right? And how many of you think it's false? Again, I see a lot of hands just idly sitting. And I'm not going to give an opinion because I can be wrong. Okay, how many of you think it's false and why? It's false. It was mentioned that he was quite famous in his network, but nowhere it is written that he was very well qualified. The next question. The priest was an old senior gentleman. True or false? I see now you're all distributed. True will be wrong, false will be right. So let's go towards false. So how many of you think it's true? Show of hands. How many of you think it's false? Why? He was an experienced person, but consciously or not, we infer or equate experience to the number of grey hair or receding hairline, even for women. It's an unfortunate truth. Okay, my next and the last question is, the business consultant was not an empathetic person. True or false? Yes, sir. You're the only one raising your hand, sir, so just smile and give us the answer.
Yeah, true. Because he said, why they're playing at night, why can't they play at night?
So why can't they play at night? So it's a sign of lack of empathy. Anyone else?
No, it is empathy.
You agree, sir. So you're saying true, sir. Anyone from here?
No, it is empathy. He is empathetic.
See, I like the conversation which is happening.
He understands the situation of the dark.
Yes. So this entire conversation was about sharing perspective. And if you really think about it, it's not that the business consultant lacked empathy. He had more of logic. And if you really think about it, he said, why can't they play in the dark? So devoid of any emotion, any emotional overtone, why can't they play in the dark? Now, the reason of starting the session with this short narrative is just to bring into our consciousness these subtle biases which may be holding us back. For example, my business is not big enough to go in front of that investor because that investor is really rich, really renowned. He or she is not going to listen to me. We haven't even tried and we reject our attempt even before endeavoring for it. Or for example, I can't hold that presentation without my team member because I don't come from a very good pedigree, very good school, very good college, and the person who's listening to me comes from Harvard. I'm not good enough to speak in front of that person. And taking a clue from what Bob said, who has given your mouth? Conversation, communication is an acquirable skill. There is no rocket science to it. And sometimes we are bringing unconscious biases in the times we hire also. I've seen it happen. I remember one of the client, and I was sitting in a job interview with this client, and he actually rejected one very solid candidate with about 7 years of experience, ex-McKinsey person who had come for the conversation. He said, I can't hire it because this person may be like vagabond. I said, but the conversation, she responded so well. He said, didn't you see there were 3 tattoos on her wrists? I was like, okay, this is more cause and effect linkage than CID, but we are making these unconscious biases even without being aware that it's playing at the back. I understand and appreciate that we started the entire conversation with we being the minority, with government being tough, but just imagine how limiting this paradigm can be. You can find so many collaborators on an open stage who are going to engage with you based on your capability, on your mettle, not where you come from. So I'm saying keep that minority angle in your mind with a bent of mind to collaborate better. But don't operate from that paradigm when you're collaborating from people who are different from you, different demographics, different geography, different age, different qualification. Remember, it is diversity that breeds innovation. Homogeneity, I think, sir, you mentioned, will never be able to drive innovation. So this is my starting aspect of collaboration. If you have to collaborate, you have to listen with your head, with your hand, and your heart. You cannot listen to other person while you're formulating your response in your head. You're not listening. They're just talking and you're just hearing. So listening happens at multiple levels. And don't let assumptions hold you back, because assumptions can enable you to make a dash of yourself, which is the first 3 alphabets of the word itself. Now, moving on, guys, so far with me, you guys are giving me very serious looks. I'm not talking about World Economic Forum. I'm not that qualified, okay? So please smile during my entire session. I'm a communication coach. I do lovely soft things, okay? All right. Now, coming back to the other thing in collaboration, which I think Rajesh also had mentioned, is that investors want to check your passion. They want to understand your mettle. And in a lot of pitches that I've sat with angel investors, I see entrepreneurs trying really hard to impress the investors with numbers, with statistics, with mind-numbing pie charts, and go on and on and on. And at the end of the day, investors, we were sitting and he said, I didn't even understand what he was talking about. And perpetually, what lacks in the pitch is a story. And I'm not talking about the story, how you grew from 1 team member to 10 team members, how you grew your top line, bottom line, how you grew your customers. I'm talking about your story. Because you see, if I ask you, how many of you remember the villain of Sholay? I hope you guys have seen Sholay, otherwise this is going to backfire. Okay, okay. So, who was the villain in the movie Sholay? Gabbar Singh. He remembers the surname also. And if I ask for the horoscope, he may give me that also, right? So remember Gabbar Singh. Okay. I'm going to replace a question. What did you eat at this time last week? So if you remember, then you have a super brain. Food, yeah? So do you see the difference? Stories create remembrance and recall. Facts create nothing. Maybe a small high for a moment. It's important to build a business case, but facts cannot be remembered. And here's the thing I'm trying to tell you. I'm not saying make your pitches, make your brand conversation devoid of statistics. You do need those customer numbers. But I'm saying involve more of story. Story about you as a person, story about the brand, story about why you started what you started. Because here's the twist to it. When you tell a good story, or when you hear a good story, there's a biological reaction happening in your system, which is activation of all these hormones. And it is hormones that create that remembrance. Now, I'm going to give you an example of what happens when dopamine is secreted in your system. How many of you are aware of this hormone called dopamine? Show of hands. What does dopamine do? You don't know exactly, but you raised hand. Yeah, but sir, I would really want you to speak, whatever comes to your mind.
Come on, Desmond.
It's got to do with your physicality, what's there in your being,
Hmm.
and that's something that triggers you by getting excited.
Triggers you by getting excited. Any other view?
The hormones that are released when you're happy.
When you're happy. Yes. Any other view? What does dopamine mean? Or what does dopamine hormone do? I'm anyways not going to give you 1 CR. It's not Kaun Banega Karodpati. So just try. It's fine. Any other view of what does dopamine do? Okay. Dopamine is also considered to be a reward hormone. So when you're winning something, when there's a routine and you're checking off your goal sheet, that's when you get dopamine. When you're actively exercising or doing some adventurous, intense activity, that's when you get dopamine. All right? And the happiness hormone is the serotonin hormone. But let's understand what happens when dopamine is generated in the system. I'm going to be telling you another story, so please stay tuned with me. So this is a story that I got access to in 2018 when I was working on the module of dealing with ambiguity for a client. I was at my wit's end and I was not able to figure out what content to make, and my mom was sitting with me and I said, Mom, you know what? You have always told me that we migrated from Kashmir in the year that I was born, which was 90. But I never really know what the story is. And my mom said, Sunny is my nickname, are you ready to hear it? You've grown old also, you're 28, 29, I think I should tell you this. I said, yeah, go ahead. So she said it was cold wintry night on 18th January 1990. And she said at around 11 p.m., there was a loud thudding on the door. And my Nana Ji was watching Mahabharat on his television, the rerun. And my Nana Ji said, who could be at this hour, that too in Kashmir? And to their surprise, it turned out to be our neighbor. She was shrieking, visibly perspiring in cold wintry night, and she's saying, I'm really scared. Do you know the violence against Kashmiri Pandits has intensified? They're saying Kashmiri dogs need to be thrown out. I'm worried for my life. What will happen? And my Nana Ji, really perturbed by this interruption, looks at her and says, have you lost it? We are in Kashmir. These are usual things which happen in our nation. We have underground mining under our place, which basically protects us from air bombings. And you're worried about an airstrike. Please just go and let me watch my television and don't come back again. My mom said we all slept off, and again at 3 a.m., there was again a loud thudding on the door. And my Nana Ji woke up and he said, if it's going to be the neighbor, I'm really going to give her a earful. But to their surprise, there were 2 CISF Jawans. And these CISF Jawans at 3 in the morning on 19 January tell my mother that whatever bare essentials you have in your home, please pack them. You have to go to the nearest CID center. The rest of the instructions will be given there. If you have a baby in your home, please make sure that the baby doesn't make noise. Take some baby food, some money, some clothing. We can't give you the full picture right now. My mom said those 15 minutes seemed like a complete flux, a complete void, not seeming to end and yet seeming too short. We were not able to figure out what choices to make, what to keep, what to leave behind, because this was a place where they had spent 3.5 decades. And my Nana Nani probably 5 decades of their time, and they were asked to just go to the nearest CID center. They packed their bare essentials, they reached the CID center only to see 200 to 250 Kashmiri families gathered there. Mom said my heart was in my mouth because your dad was at his parents' place and I was wondering whether he's going to make it. He's in a different place. And by 4 a.m. my dad came. By 4:30, CISF Jawan made an announcement that Kashmir is under attack. You will be taken by these set of matadors to Jammu. The next set of instructions will be given there, so don't worry. My mom said it was an 8 to 9 hours journey. We were taken through secret alleys because Kashmir was visibly under attack. And we reached Jammu. And my mom said it's been 28 years ever since. And she said that was the day that we became from Kashmiri civilians to refugees. The story ends. Now what I wanted to do is, let's not make it political. Let's not make it even emotional. Let's purely make it biological. When you heard the story, what did you experience in your body? What did you experience at an emotional level in your body? What happened? Fear. What else? You were scared. Yes. Sad. What else? Anxiety. Curiosity to know more, right? What else? What to do next? What else? See, I'm dwelling on the aspect of what and what did you experience just to simply harness the power of story. This is not because my story was great, okay? No, it's a usual story, it's a migration story, it's a sad story. It's because it is narrated in a way that is made to listen, that you are listening to me. So I'm going to ask you this question. Were you able to visualize the story, picture by picture? The CISF, Nanaji watching Mahabharat, they leaving baby food. So this is what I'm talking about. People think that they are telling story, but in fact, they're just telling facts. I've grown from a very small company to a very big company. Fact. I've grown from one employee with a loan of 30 lakhs with uncertainty of what to eat next, with poverty where I was not able to figure out food for my baby and I was figuring food for my baby from the crevices of my sofa, to making it a company of 100 people to be listed in Forbes. This is the story. Your story will make the audience watch the journey you've been through. And it's not a skill that you can ace in a single day, but it's not rocket science again. So my humble submission to each one of you, and I'm telling you why it's related to collaboration, as you become greater in scale, scope, complexity, believe you me, your numbers is just the entry to the toll gate of investors or your collaboration partners. What they want to see is, what has your journey been? What is your life story been? And life being life is always full of ups and downs. The problem is, as we become adult, we want to, take few steps back from our reality. Oh, we came from a rural area. We came from a small place. No, I can't tell this. This is all investors, all firms listed. I can't tell my reality. And the more you run from your reality, the more inauthentic you appear. And remember one thing in collaboration and in business too, while I'm talking to a lot of CEOs and CEOs and I talk with them regularly, that what leads you to do business with an entity. And they always tell me, we don't work with entities. They're simply brands. They become meaningless. We work with people because decisions are made in heart but actually rationalized in mind later. What we think is that the decisions are made in mind and then rationalized in heart. Made in mind and that's how it's rationalized, but it's actually the other way round. So to appeal to the hearts of people, you'll have to start becoming authentic in your story. So one of the things that I'd like you to just write down somewhere is the fact, what is the story of your life that you want to reflect in your brand? Even if you start dwelling on it, I think half my job as a speaker here is done. Even if I can give you some food for thought of start rendering your story, okay? So moving on, I'll not take you through this towards the end. Now I'll give you a simple example of why collaboration has become so simple, so easy, so accessible, yet because we've become entrepreneurs, we somehow undermine the potential of this thing called social media. So if I ask you, how many of you have your business listed on Instagram by show of hands? Yeah. How many of you think you are leveraging Instagram, Facebook effectively for your business? Yeah. Okay. So now here's the thing, guys. The entire game of influencer marketing, which means where you are not really working with brand ambassadors, but simple influencer with more than 10,000 followers on Instagram, on Facebook. This market is going to be 2,200 crores by 2025. That's the scope of the market that we're looking at. When I talk to entrepreneurs, I hear them speak about technology enablement, business analytics, innovation being done. They are using business process engineering. And I go back to the simple question, Instagram, Facebook, no answer. And it's not because their business is not Instagram worthy. Believe you me, what I've seen selling on Instagram, every business is Instagram friendly or Facebook friendly. The problem is we are not aware of that channel. So one of the other things that I wish to impart you with today is dwell on social media for collaboration. It's a big market out there. Now why I shared this picture, the person out here on my left is my intern who I had hired last year. And this girl was managing content for me. But you know what? This girl is also an influencer, which I got to know during the interview. And apart from writing content from Nyra Leadership Consulting, you see the numbers here. The pointer is not working. 409K, which means almost 500,000. Then 230K, 160K. Now, what she really does is create these engaging videos which are watched by Maybelline, L'Oreals of the world, some really big brands that you can't be even aware of in New York. And they actually want to collaborate with this girl sitting in Pune and simply create videos. And she used to get 10 times more money from her influencing fees rather than working with me. But she said she wants to work with me because she's learning to deal with people. So you cannot underestimate the power of influencer marketing. And again, relating it to the story of this girl is that she's 18-year-old, and she's passionate about fashion, makeup. She wants to make it big in that world. And that is the narrative of dopamine that I was talking about, dopamine, serotonin, endorphin. What pivot you want to take in terms of the brand is completely your focus. But that is what she's consistently communicating. My question to you is, through your LinkedIn, through your Instagram, through your Facebook today, what is the image that you are really conveying to the outer world? Remember, you can collaborate with people, but people also need to see the worth of collaborating with you. So that is a very important piece which we really miss out on, right? So these are her, what you call collaboration. Another girl, her name is Komal Pandey. You know, for one Instagram post, how much she charges? One Instagram post, just to put 10 lakhs. And yet it is a very profitable venture for a L'Oreal. They don't have to hire Deepika Padukone. They hire her 10 lakhs per post. How many followers she has got? 1.5 million. How many views she has garnered on YouTube? 1 billion. So we're talking about big numbers. So if I ask you today, if you have to get an Instagram influencer, what is your knowledge of Instagram influencers today? You know, the reach you can get access to, this visibility turns into solid numbers. It's not based on glamour, it's based on analytics. It reaches out to those many people. Now the story of this girl's life is that she was heartbroken, broke up with a guy after 4 years of her relationship in college. She wanted to channelize all her energy constructively and started a fashion blog called Komal Pandey Trends, which was all about fashion, makeup, accessories. Got picked up by Pop XO, started making videos for her. The rest is history. She got a chance to go to Paris lab of L'Oreal. So I'm trying to say is, one thing we discuss very often is advertising spend, YouTube spend, search engine optimization. But we are actually completely ignoring this huge chunk of people who can give us access to our target audience, which is Instagram, Facebook, the influencer. Ankur Warikoo. How many of you are aware of Ankur Warikoo here? Yeah? Really few. For one session of speaking, he charges about 5 lakhs. But if he's coming for your session, be rest assured that 1,000 to 2,000 people you'll get as your target audience. So these are the people that you need to start thinking to collaborate with, because their reach is meteoric. Okay? How much time do I have? I didn't take 2 minutes. Okay. Can I get 5 more? I'll wrap up. Yeah. Okay. I don't know how many of you are aware of her, Prajakta Kohli, show of hands. She's a very popular one. Again, a graduate getting bored started making funny videos. Take on how do Masis treat her, how do Phufaji treat her, and all of that. One video went viral, and I don't need to explain this. This is Michelle Obama. She was being invited by the Melinda Gates Foundation too. It's a powerful tool, guys. We are blatantly ignoring it, including me. Now, I'm just now going to dwell on the aspect of, these were influencer thing, but the other aspect is collaborations where that has led to real business numbers. So how many of you are aware of H&M? How many of you are aware of Sabyasachi? Yeah, you guys shop well. Now, Sabyasachi, as a designer, he's always telling the story that he came from middle-class family of Calcutta. And for him, fashion foray was complete serendipity. And H&M said, we are perceived to be expensive in India. We want to create a designer line to make designer clothes accessible for the middle-class people. A Swedish-based company, H&M, an Indian-based designer in Calcutta, the two coming together, launched a line in August 21. You know in how much time the clothes went completely sold out? Guess? 1 month? 1 day? 1 hour. Sabyasachi had to release an apology letter that we underestimated you guys. This is the power of collaboration. figuring out your strength and also figuring out who could be a powerful partner for you is equally important. You just can't get enamored by the net worth, by the car of the person. You have to get enamored by the value system of the person. Another quick example, we all know Starbucks and Tata are in alliance together. Both are Goliaths of their worlds. But Starbucks was actually soft launched in 2007. And one of the biggest challenges they faced as an entity was that they were not able to change the habits of Indian palates, which is of tea to coffee. So between 2007 to 2010, their entire endeavor flopped. What led them to the success is later on actually joining hands with Tata, who gave them the infrastructure support. So you may be Goliath, but if you're coming in a new market and if you don't have a strong collaborative partner, no amount of net worth will help. The reason it took off is because of Tata, and now we are also seeing Starbucks in our Vistara flights, Singapore Air flights. It's because of Tata. Can you move to the next slide? My next slide is not working. It's going on? Okay, I think the next slide is not working, but what was in my next slide is a story of, we can skip this, the next slide. How many of you here watch Shark Tank? Show of hands. Wow. it looks like a Ekta Kapoor serial. So, yes. So how many of you had seen this pitch? Have you? Yes. Yeah. So could you tell me what is so peculiar about this pitch that I have included it in collaboration presentation today? And yeah, you.
We have somebody here who distributes.
Yeah? So, Dillis, would you like to share why this is so relevant from collaboration perspective? You have a lovely voice, very voiceover-like. Yeah.
Because it simply moves, I mean, it's engaging so many people, especially the youngsters, the young people today.
Yeah.
They're tapping their potential.
Yeah.
So I can see their potential coming into creativity, their potential coming into access, into reach.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I can see the potential being tapped into the younger generation.
Younger generation. Thank you. But the other part is when they had come to Shark Tank India, I don't know if you remember their story. The guy was working in Australia, gets a call from his mother someday that your father is going to die because he's got cancer. He has to wrap up his operations in Australia, comes to India and is figuring out what to do now. Mera to dhanda khatam. Does a research because both the couple were from a consulting background and figured out we don't have quality popsicle. Started the business, COVID hit, were almost at the brink of bankruptcy. Year 2021, Shark Tank comes, they present their pitch, and this is the only product in Shark Tank history where they got investment from all the 6 sharks. 1 crore for 15% equity, very less amount of investment. But what I think Rajesh was talking about in the first half, strategic investor. They really didn't tap into the sharks for money. They tapped into the sharks for the access they had. They had Vinita, they had Anupam Mittal, they had Piyush Bansal, all these people with strong retail presence. And from 4-5 lakhs a month, they are today at 2.5 CR. From 3 cities, they are now, distributing pan-India with presence in Uganda, Nepal, Kathmandu, Bhutan, to name a few. So they've gone global. So never underestimate the power of collaboration. And my humble submission to you would be that because at times even I am guilty of that, never underestimate yourself. Even before we underestimate others, we have a tendency to underestimate ourselves. But guys, after 10 years in consulting, I found 2 things. One thing, leaders at the top are lonely. So the strategic investors that you're talking about, they're lonely people. They're not looking for numbers from you only. They're looking for people with whom they can share that mind share. And for them to see you as equals, you need to see yourself as an equal. Only then will they can perceive you as an equal. So that was my set. I'll not get into this one. Now to wrap up, because we are talking about Goa Dimensions as one collaborative team, I thought let me showcase this video because I think this is very appropriate to the congregation, to the set of people who have gathered today. So can we start this video, please? Lee? Is it working? This is when technology works against you. Oh, it is.
gotta be done. Move it, move it, move it. Hey, you there, pick up the pace. You're falling behind. Come on, let's go. Everyone, pull together. You got a threat to on our hands. You there. Here we go.
So I hope you get the message, and with this, I come towards the end of my set. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ridima Wali. Thank you for sharing your expertise and your experience on collaboration and motivating all of us. Please give her a loud round of applause.
Thank you.
I request Mr. Jason Anrad to do the honors of handing Ms. Ridima Wali a token of our appreciation. Mrs. Vilma Fernandez, please hand over the token.
Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you for that.